Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Travel and Leisure Show. Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Show. We love travel, and one of the things Nancy and I love to do when we stay in a community is to stay in a bed and breakfast because it is just an exceptional experience. It's personal, it's immersive, and the innkeepers always pay attention to detail. You get good food in the mornings. Apparently, it's quite sweet when you go to the Bird and Butterfly Inn, and that's where we're going today. We're going to chat with Chuck and Mikelyn Wustman. They are the owners and innkeepers of the Bird and Butterfly Inn, and they are in Jasper, Texas, and they get to tell us exactly where that is in the big Lone Star State because it's a big state. You could get lost, right? So welcome back, Mikelyn. How are you?
We're good. How are you?
Good. Welcome, Chuck. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. Thank you. How about
And now
yourself?
tell us. Doing great, doing great. First thing, most importantly, you've been on our ice cream social show, and then Mikelyn was on the wine show. But tell us the most important thing about breakfast. Chuck, this is important for the bed and breakfast, right? Is what is served for breakfast.
Yes. So we serve one of two things.
That's not true.
It's not true? Okay. All right.
This is why we stay at bed and breakfast.
We serve more than two things.
Okay.
I'll let Mikelyn talk about it, but anyway, one of them is a very sweet French toast creme brulee, which has homemade whipping cream and delicious caramel sauce.
Ooh, so
and
sweet.
Chuck decided, he figured out we usually serve it with the side of very thinly sliced Honeycrisp apples because they look pretty. They add a little color to the plate. And he figured out if you drizzle some of the caramel sauce on the apples, you get like a caramel apple, which he's all about that for breakfast. So,
and this
sweet,
sounds
like
it sounds like a good fall dish too, but it sounds year round, right? Because a little start your breakfast with some sweet and some apple, and that's good. What's the other dish?
One of our favorites is a quiche that I've made for years and years. I don't even remember how I started making it. It is a sausage and mushroom quiche, and the great thing about it is you can make everything the night before and then just put it in the oven in the morning. So it's nice. From that standpoint, especially if you have a lot of people, you can make it. We have a 10-inch round pie dish we use, or you can do a 9x13. And if you have leftovers, it's great for leftovers. We do that
with hot sauce.
We actually do it with a sauce of pecani and sour cream, which is really good. And then Chuck does a great little salad that has a fresh strawberry vinaigrette.
Ooh.
It's very good. It's a nice counterbalance.
Oh, I like this. So Chuck, you like sweet things, but sounds like spicy is also good.
That's right.
Okay,
I think a little pecani sauce always is good.
We're friends. We're friends. We got it. We got it. I'm all good. I'm liking this. So Mikelyn, explain where Jasper, Texas is for folks, and then we'll talk into why they should experience the region and get into the inn and some of the backstory of you guys becoming innkeepers.
So we are in a region that is officially known as Deep East Texas. We are about 40 miles from the Louisiana border.
Okay.
We're actually closer to Louisiana than we are to Houston, but we're just about 2 hours northeast of Houston. And although we have a Jasper address, we are really a mile from Lake Sam Rayburn. If you Google Lake Sam Rayburn and you blow your map up and you scroll way to the south edge, there's a little teeny line that is the dam. That will connect you to the Angelina River, and we are a mile south of the dam on the Angelina River.
I think I have been to the dam.
You probably have. It's not that big. I mean, you won't miss it if you drive over it, but
no, I think we've been there. And we've done a lot of dams as we travel the country documenting parks and public lands. That's a lot of the lakes in Texas, and the East Texas lakes are just gorgeous. I mean, it's beautiful. How far are you from Nacogdoches, the oldest city in Texas? Because they're East Texas.
About an hour. We are about 45 minutes from Lufkin, and I think Nacogdoches is about another half hour from that.
Oh, that's awesome. They do a sail on the trail between Natchitoches, Louisiana and Nacogdoches in May.
The brothers.
That is cool. So I'm sure a lot of people come and stay at the inn for that. and go out and, drive around and
We had a couple of weeks ago, month or so ago, we had some friends who were traveling from Regina. And they were here for one night, and then they went to Natchitoches for a night, and then they came back here for a night. So it is
Sounds
close
good.
enough to make that trip.
Yeah.
It's awesome. A lot of history in your area too. A lot
Lot.
of history. And just, I think people don't expect East Texas to be if you haven't been there, you always think, Texas, armadillos and desert. But when you go to East Texas, it's a whole other game. It
Well,
really is
as
completely
you can
different
see
landscape.
from our photo, which we're sitting in front of our primary photo of the house, you can see more trees than anything else. It's a very heavily
water.
wooded area. It's called the Piney Woods for a very good reason. Yeah.
Mhm. So you've got like 10 acres?
8.
8 acres. That's 8, 10, same thing. But that's some good acreage to have some peace and quiet. So I bet
Mhm.
your guests like the quiet and
Yeah,
birds and
our 8 acres are on the Angelina River, and then we have 1,000 linear feet of river frontage on our property, and then we have
nice.
walking trails on the property. So it's fun for people to kind of walk around on the trails. We have different kinds of yard art hidden on the trails that you get to discover, and then you're right
Cool.
on the river.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. And I know birding in Texas is a big deal. So I bet a lot of people enjoy the bird watching side of it in your
Correct.
area.
Bird watching and also butterflies. Mikelyn will tell you about our name and how we came up
Yeah.
with the name of the bird and butterfly inn.
Yeah,
Mikelyn?
because you actually found out that this was a bed and breakfast, but you were looking for houses, right? And then that kind of spurred the whole thing on.
Well,
So,
Chuck was going to sell a piece of real estate, and there's a tax code called 1031 that allows you to exchange real estate and defer tax. So you sell, reinvest the profit in another income producing property, and you can defer your tax. So Chuck wanted to do that. So way too soon, I started looking. I said, well, what are my guidelines? Because I said, well, if we're going to buy something, why don't we find something where we can go for a long weekend or holidays or something like that? And he said, okay, I want some acres. I want to be on or near water, and it has to have a house on it. And it can be a crummy house, because I would rather renovate a house than build a house. So I said, okay. So I go on Land Watch, and Land Watch will let you decide, how, like, less than 5 to 50 or something like that on acres, waterfront, has a dwelling. And then the picture that I found is a very spectacular picture. It's taken from about halfway down our boardwalk, and it's the whole front of the house. Basically the picture that you see behind us, with a little less landscaping. And so I had no idea. I mean, I don't think it's income producing. I just think it's a very interesting looking house. And then you get in,
mhm,
then you go through the
beautiful.
listing, and it's all these super interesting photos. And our living room has 20-foot ceilings with these gigantic windows on either side of the fireplace. And we just kept looking at it. And finally, after probably the 4th or 5th time we scrolled through it over a weekend, we have a picture that's in front of our, it's kind of a stand-up sign that's in front of our dining room. And Chuck said, blow that picture up.
Mm.
So I go in and I go like that. And it says, welcome to La Paz, breakfast at 8:30. And Chuck's like, baby, this is a bed and breakfast. This is income producing. We could buy this. And we had a conversation with Paul, who was the seller, probably within 2 weeks. And that was on a Wednesday, and we came to see it on Saturday, and we were under contract at 6:00 Saturday night.
Boom. Done deal.
Yeah. Chuck is
Done deal.
he's a decisive individual.
So you end up buying a bed and breakfast. Did you ever think in life that, and we'll get to the name, that
Sure.
you would be running a bed and breakfast and become innkeepers? And
Nope.
so, oh, Chuck's like,
Aha,
Someone
yeah.
did not get the memo.
okay, but this, do you like it?
There is a lot to like. It's a friend of mine
It's a
from
lot of
church
work.
she said,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I have a very hallmark version of what being an innkeeper is. And I said, it's a lot more dishes and laundry than you expect.
Mm-hmm.
But we
Yeah.
have met 99.5% of the people we've met have been super They're
Mhm.
nice. We've already had a number of repeat guests, and we also purchased from Paul, the seller. We took the same reservation system that he had. So
Oh,
we
great.
had access to all of his prior guests. So we
Nice.
were able to, when we were opening, to email all of them and say, hey, the property that you love is back open. It's under a new name and new ownership. But Paul was
And we're
actually,
cool. And we're
yeah, we're
cool.
cool. And we know Paul, and Paul's
And we
cool.
got a sweet tooth, so you're going to be taken care of.
So, but it was
Right.
great. Paul was actually on the property with us. We closed in May of 2022. And at the closing, Chuck asked Paul if he knew what he was doing next.
Yeah, and Paul said, well, I still have 3 months to finish my work contract in Jasper. And he said, so I'm probably just going to move into an apartment. And I said, well, why don't we do a lease back and you can stay at the bed and breakfast until you're finished with your contract. And he said, well,
Nice.
how much would I have to pay? And I said, well, how about if you just pay the electric bill? And he goes, well, that works.
He's doing that anyway.
So that's what we did. And then what a great opportunity for him to stay with us for those 90 days. Because we got to ask him lots of questions about
Mhm.
operations and running. And
One day the well
Um,
pump went out, so
you
he
know.
and Chuck went out to go look at that. So it was
Yeah.
great to have him around for those types of things.
Yeah. So how do you
Mm.
plan for large weddings and where do cars park and just the general maintenance of the place? It was nice to talk to him to kind of get it kind of an inside track. So I didn't have to discover some of those things. So
Yeah,
So
no, I bet.
we closed in May, and he was on the property until early August. So it was
Nice.
really, we had a lot of time to get to know him. This house was the dream of his wife.
Oh,
And everyone who's been here has either had an event here, attended an event here, or been a vendor for an event here. And almost every single one of those people has told us that this house was her dream, and that she stored things and saved them for years and years to be able to do this house.
mhm.
oh,
So it
Yeah.
was very, we didn't want to come in and change everything. I mean,
right.
why would you change all the things that make the property unique and interesting?
Yeah.
And that are the things that you liked about it.
And then the furniture is in there and everything too that she,
It was all inclusive.
oh, that's really sweet.
With a
So
very,
that's
with a
nice.
very few exceptions, but yes.
But
But we
there's
did
something
change the
about
name.
that.
But we
But you
did change
changed the name. Yeah, let's go to the name because
Yeah.
birds and butterflies are good.
So we were trying to figure out, my mom was a birder.
Okay.
And so she loved birds. And so in our dining room, we have a piece of furniture that had belonged to her. It's a beautiful English hutch. And then not all of her ducks, but a lot of her ducks are here. And so I was trying to come up with a name that would be about like a native bird. So I
Mm.
was thinking maybe we'd be like the Little Blue Heron Inn. Well, in Chuck's research about Jasper, he found out that Jasper became designated as the butterfly capital of Texas.
No way.
Way.
Oh,
Wow.
That is a thing.
it's a thing.
Well, they
Partly
love
because-
trees.
Partly because we're on a major flyway migration for both birds and butterflies. A lot of Southeast Texas is.
Wow,
But-
yeah.
But a
Right.
local representative petitioned the governor, and the governor designated Jasper the butterfly capital of Texas. So usually the first Saturday in October, we have a big butterfly festival in town, and I think they release
Wow.
butterflies at the Arboretum, and
Yeah.
Oh, you have an arboretum?
uh-huh.
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
cool.
we're fancy.
Oh, no, but the butterfly thing, they're a symbol of rebirth, which is pretty fitting, for you guys, taking over the property and just the changeover, and then keeping
Right.
the legacy going. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, and
You
you,
know.
you can't see it in our photo. This is a photo that was taken just a few months after all of our stuff got planted. It is wild out there right now, but one of the things we planted was a lot of butterfly attracting plants.
Nice.
So we do have butterflies on the property all the time, which is
Do
very
you get
fun.
fireflies because of all the
We're
trees?
working on it. There are some
Mhm.
things that you can plant that attract them. So we're
Mhm.
working on getting some fireflies out here.
Awesome, awesome. There's a project on saving wild
Mhm.
the actual the fireflies, and it's like
Right.
also there's like the National Wildlife Federation has a program for backyard habitats, where you can be certified backyard habitat, and also like a monarch way station.
Yes, we're working on our Monarch Way Station. There's a few things
Oh,
we need to
cool.
do, but we've investigated that. We do have them on the property. We have a lot of lantana, and they love lantana. So we have a lot of those, and they really enjoy it. We have some of the little, like on our logo, we have a little yellow cloud sulfur butterfly, and we see a lot of those guys. We have some
Do
really
you plant
beautiful.
milkweed and that kind of thing
We
too?
did not plant milkweed, but we planted, I mean, we did research before we talked to our landscaper. And so we just gave him a list of, I don't know, 85 plants and said, any of these you can get in any combination, just do that.
Okay. Yeah,
So
but
it's a little,
lantanas, they love that. And you've
they
got
go
water too,
crazy. Yes.
because
Well,
they
and we
do
do have
puddling.
water. We've got the pond, we've got the water, we got the little waterfall and the pond. And of course we're on the river. So
And birds love to have running water.
they
love
do.
that.
Most of the birds that we see they are actually on the river. We see them when we're out on the viewing deck. I think was it
Ooh.
yesterday or today? We actually saw two big blue herons flying down. We have
Aw.
bald eagles. There is a nesting.
Kingfisher.
Oh, and of course the kingfisher.
Oh,
Kingfisher is absolutely one of our
the
favorites.
belted one, the black and white one, the
Belted.
belted.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're so you normally hear them before you see them
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
they're very. Chuck calls them says they're very chittery.
Yeah, they kind of make a
I
chittery sound.
I love your area. That is such a there's so much to natural beauty is amazing, to explore. Now, does Jasper have any museums, any historic sites? You've got an arboretum, so now like that's attractive for
We do
all of
have
us
the
who love
Jasper County
plants and birds.
Historical Museum. They do a very nice job. We know Todd there. They do a very nice job of exhibits about a lot of history, local things, local points of interest. There is a lot of history here.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a hotel that had been a bed and breakfast. It was built in 1901. It was called the Swan Hotel. It has changed hands a number of times, but they just closed. They weren't really operating for the last 2 years as a B&B. And so the museum, because the property has been here since 1901, the museum just they have an exhibit there featuring the Swan Hotel because
Ooh,
it's a historic building and because it has a lot of history.
that's
But they
cool.
have stuff about the Native American population here, some of the not slave camps, but some of the emancipated peoples and some of the settlements that they had. So that's a lot to see there.
And you're near the El Camino Real de los Tejas National Historic Trail that goes from San Antonio all the way up to Natchitoches, Louisiana. It actually starts in Mexico. And this was a royal road, and it has many different ways you can take it, a lot of different offshoots. And so that's where Nacogdoches and Natchitoches are connected. And that area, that's part of the Sail on the Trail, where it's a giant yard sale. It's always in May. And people, everyone just puts out everything for sale, and you sail on the trail, man. It's cool.
Wow.
You never know all the treasures, antiques, and things, but you're also close to the Lebanese swales. These los. Okay, forget it. I don't remember the name very well, but these are ancient swales not far from you, where it's like you're walking in a tunnel almost of like where the buffalo used to be, and it's the actual royal road out on a hiking path. So it's like Natchez Trace Parkway, right? There's areas like that too where you're kind of walking way down, and then the soil kind of comes up. And that's how they herded, the Native Americans and ancestral people herded buffalo and I should say bison, right? Through there. And so you have that, and it's really ancient footprints, like just up the road from you.
Very cool.
And I mean, your area, the history also, because, you were, Texas, there's I'm going to get these all wrong. Los Andreas. No, I got it wrong, but there's a old fort not far from you between you and Natchitoches, Louisiana. Gosh, it's Los Andeas. I got that. All right, that's the right one. You can only see teeny remnants of it. It's also on the El Camino Real de los Tejas Trail, and that is where the border of Texas used to be.
Oh, wow.
Which is really history, because it kind of ties into back in the Louisiana Purchase, and at one point, Louisiana on that side is called no man's land because for 3 years there was no law and order. I mean, things went down, and it's Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
Someone was running and doing all kinds of things out there in the swamps.
Mhm.
So it's the history that ties into your area between Texas and Louisiana, and all the different cultures that settled the land at that time. I
What is
mean,
the
it's
thing that the Park
amazing.
Service is doing for the park trails?
That's what it's part of it. Probably El Camino is
Yeah.
Park
Yeah,
Service.
the Texas Park Service.
Oh, Texas.
Is it the Texas Historical Commission?
Oh yeah, you guys have
I don't know.
you have
Yeah, those
historic
guys are
signs
good.
everywhere.
I think the Texas Historical Commission is doing something with the Park Service to do historic trails and historic sites. And so
Mhm.
we've been trying to work with them to be a designated stop for an overnight as
Right.
people, because it maps out all the places that they can
Mhm.
go kind of regionally. It's
Well,
very
your
cool.
areas where we discovered that we thought, okay, we're going to go from Natchitoches to Nacogdoches. We were spending a few nights in Nacogdoches, and we're excited because of the history and everything. We're like, we're going to stop at every historic site on the way.
Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, I learned. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
that
you don't have
far,
enough days
right?
for that.
Like what? And that's when we started to realize that just about every few feet, you guys have a historic sign, but there's always something that went down. So
Right.
it's really fascinating. So to have trails like that, it's I mean, also you're going to be part of a corridor because of the river, an ancient
right.
corridor because of that. So anyway, I'm like excited about your area because it's so beautiful. I don't know, your area, just the history and then having the nature connected is pretty cool. But tell us a little bit about the rooms, the actual B&B. You have 5, right? Guest suites?
Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
we have 5 rooms. 2 are separate cabins or rooms. What's the word I'm looking for?
Cottage.
Cottage.
One is a cottage,
Okay.
one is a cabin.
So that's for the loud people.
Sort
Put
of.
Nancy and I there. Get in the cottage.
Sort
No, I'm
of.
kidding.
So the first cabin was built in 1901, and we call it the
Oh,
1901
wow.
cabin. It
Okay.
was built in Shelby County, which is one county away from here. The owner, 2 owners ago, she had it disassembled. She wanted to move her great grandfather's cabin to her property on the Angelina River, and so she did. So she had it disassembled and rebuilt, and so that's one of our
Wow.
rooms.
And then she added on, so the main cabin is just kind of the quote unquote, the living room. And then after she had it reassembled here, she added on the other side a small kind of kitchen dinette, bathroom, and then she added an upstairs loft bedroom.
Mm.
She's probably double the square feet of the cabin.
It's
Right.
amazing though.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have another room called the Little White House. That was also built. She also built that on the property in 2000. No, it was before 2000. And so that's a separate room. And then the main house,
The big house.
the big house. And so there are 3 rooms there. So the Allison Suite, the Rutledge Retreat, and the Pullman car room.
Mm.
The Pullman car room is a really interesting room.
It's fun.
So Anne and her sister Susan would travel in East Texas with their mom when they were little girls. So when Anne had this big dream of building this house, she wanted to designate one of the bedrooms to remember the Pullman cars that they would ride in when they were little girls. And so we call it the Pullman car room because when you walk into the room, you feel like you're in a Pullman train car.
Cool.
There are 4 beds, there's separate berths. There's a wide hall or wide aisleway in between the beds. And then there's this massive bedroom that has double sinks in it and a walk-in shower. And when you look at our photos, you'll see that this room we call this the mirror room, because on the walls, there are over 17 mirrors on the wall.
There's 17 vintage mirrors in the bathroom.
Wow.
It's very cool. Everybody walks in and just goes, wow, because there's so many, they're all cool.
Well, people love train history. That is a huge draw for people, or is train history. And
well, and
yeah.
each little sleeping berth, they're built in, and each little sleeping berth has little train things about it. And so on one, it has 2 queen beds and 2 twin beds, and on one of the twin bed sides, she has a little shelf that's made out of a piece of luggage that's cut in half. So
Oh,
they
that's
like cut it
cute.
in half and mounted it to the wall, so it's like a little shelf, but it's a piece of luggage.
No way, that is cool.
It's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Wow. Wow, and you think about like the train history of Texas too, goes all the way into Chicago. The
Oh, yeah.
Pullman is part of the National Park Service. They have it's
Mhm.
one of our earlier national park sites, which is pretty, not a national park, but a national park. I think it's a monument, but that's cool. How you tie
Yeah,
back
it's
to
a fun
history there.
room. It's a
That
great,
is cool.
it's a great, because they're 4 beds.
Yeah.
It's a great like kind of girls' weekend room where they can all, and we do have a lot. That's actually that. And while we don't really do a lot of kids, we do make some exceptions. We've had a couple of families who were traveling for funerals and stuff like that. And so
Okay.
in that type of situation, we'll accommodate a younger kid. And so, for a family traveling like that, the mom, the dad, and the kids can all sleep in the same, they can all
Mhm.
sleep in the same room, and potentially they can all have their own bed.
Do you
There's 4
ever
beds.
rent out the entire bed and breakfast for like an event or something like that?
We do. If you're doing a wedding here, we do require that you book out all the rooms on the property.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because, you don't want random people at your wedding, and random people don't want to be at your wedding.
No, though it could be fun for wedding crashers.
Potentially.
Yeah, they ought
Yeah,
to make a movie about wedding crashers.
yeah, exactly. But I think it'd be fun. I think yeah. I wonder, you'd be going for the dessert plates, Chuck,
Yes,
you
would.
crash the wedding.
that's why I crash weddings. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
Chuck is
it's
always
the
interested when
sugar.
we do a wedding here. He's always interested to see, like, what does the cake look like? What kind of
I
cake is that?
know. I mean, that fondant is like
I'm
that.
like,
That is pure sugar. I
Here,
mean,
you're not a guest. You don't eat the cake.
Well, I've gotten to the point now where I can actually cut a sliver out of a wedding cake and then kind of move the frosting back around
Stop.
and move the
no
frosting.
way.
It's
No
not
one-
true.
no
He
one-
does not,
no
he
one-
does
no
not
one
do
will
that.
know.
Stop,
Oh,
Josie.
No,
okay.
no, that is fantastic. That
No, it's
okay.
terrible.
We meet.
Okay,
I
He
would.
does
I
not
would.
do
I don't.
that.
I don't really do that.
He
I
doesn't
don't
do
really
that. He has tried to do it on our personal cakes, though. I'm like, why does this cake look all crazy? Huh?
No, no, I've just kind of shoved it back. Yes.
Right.
So if you could, each of you invite someone from the past, or the present to come spend the night at the inn, for a weekend, just so you can learn from them or just be inspired, anyone that you look up to as, who would you invite just for like, hey, this would be great. And you invite them to one of your wine dinners,
Oh, yeah.
but you get to be guests too. Okay. So someone else is
Okay.
doing all the work. So, and you can
Well,
eat
I'll
whatever
go-
sugar you want.
I'll go first. So since we're on a river, I would like to have Mark Twain.
Oh, cool.
So
Oh my
Mark
gosh.
Twain can talk about Huckleberry Finn and
Yeah.
all those great
He'd
stories.
like a wine dinner too.
That would be true. That would be true.
He would like the wine dinner. He would.
Yes.
What about you, Mikelyn?
I don't know. I was gonna say I would invite Anne, but I
Oh,
don't
that's
know.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
she
sweet.
we always, as we
Yeah.
made some changes here, because we did make some changes. We always tried to think about, we didn't know her. She
Mhm.
died before we ever even knew she existed.
Right.
But we tried to keep, as we made some changes, tried to keep really the feel and the theme of the property intact. And
Mm.
so, and having Paul here did help a little bit in that regard. He was very complimentary, excited about nearly everything that we did, which was great. And so, we always say we hope she would feel that what we did was in keeping with kind of what her, even though our aesthetic isn't entirely the same, we did try to keep the original feel of the property, so that when particularly returning guests come back, it still feels
Yeah.
familiar. It doesn't feel like you've, taken it from this kind of classic traditional with a little bit of eclectic to like a mid-century modern or something like that. The property still feels familiar to returning guests, which was really important for us.
Mm.
So I don't know. I don't know if I would
You're
want to.
keeping history alive, That's the thing I always say, every bed and breakfast has an incredible backstory and is preserving history in some way. And so I feel that you're keeping her legacy alive. And that's something special when someone has a big dream and goes for it and actually made a dream come through. Like that's amazing. And did that much attention to detail. They saved, the older cabins, so Mark Twain staying in the cabin, right?
Oh,
In the
probably.
Oh,
Parliament.
sure. Oh, yeah.
He's going in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, and you're also saving a piece of nature, and keeping it pristine. And I know that's easy work, right, Chuck? Keeping the property up to date.
Yeah.
You just
Outside
click your
guy,
fingers.
inside guy.
Okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah,
See,
I'm glad we scheduled our call at 11 o'clock because I was outside power washing one of our decks. It's our event deck where
oh,
we hold weddings, and we have got a gazebo or a gabled arch out there, and
We're working on a movie night out there.
so
ooh,
yeah.
ooh,
So and
movies on
we've
the
had guests
river.
do movie nights out there. They bring their own. They bring their own blow up screens and
Mhm.
and their own lawn chairs, and they set them up on the deck, and they sat out there and watched what was that? I don't remember the name
I
of the
don't
movie,
remember.
but
But anyway,
it
they
was
all
an older
watched
movie.
they all watched a fun movie and had a great time.
Yeah,
That's cool. And then
but
you
yeah,
got
there's
to
a lot
have
of
good
power washing to
stars
do with all
too.
the decks we have here.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot
So
of
Chuck has been
cleansing.
power washing off and on since last week, just trying to get everything set so we can kind of Thompson water seal everything. And
A lot of work.
it looks brand when he gets done. I'm always amazed. I'm surprised. I'm still surprised, but when he gets done with the power washing, everything looks brand new. And you don't really think it's that bad until he does it, and then it's like, oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh,
Can
Mhm.
you
like
need to do it every
huge
day?
difference.
Kidding. I'm just kidding. I love following you on Instagram because I'm always seeing you guys are always doing something. There's not like a day of rest, it doesn't look like at
It
the
doesn't
end.
feel like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you
Well,
enjoying it?
Most of the time. It does get a
Yeah.
little bit overwhelming that you never get a break. I mean, we do live on
Yeah.
the property, and so um we still have our home in Houston. So and
Okay.
Chuck still has a kind of a job back in Houston, so he has to go home a couple of times a month for a couple of days. And just our life at home is totally different than our life here.
Yeah.
There's no common space to, we had some friends that were here last year when the Astros won the World Series, and the only TV that they could watch it on, because there was not a TV in their room and we don't have one in any common area, they had to come watch it in our bedroom. So it's very nice that they're very good friends and it wasn't weird.
No, that's good. That's good.
Right.
We've
But
been
it's
in
not like
many
being at home.
innkeeper quarters are tight. It really is. It's
Yeah.
yeah, we've been in a lot of them, and
Sure.
yeah, that's where you get to have the
Well,
extra
and
bottle of wine at the end of the day.
our room was the room that we are in was originally going to be the fifth guest room, because when Anna Paul ran the property, you only had four.
Mm,
And the room that we were in was their
Game room.
grandkids' game room.
Mhm.
okay.
So Chuck was kind of looking at the property and some financials and was like, yeah, we got to get some more rooms out of this place. So that was one
Yeah.
easy way to get a bedroom, was
Mhm.
convert that game room.
Mm.
And we have an interesting staircase that like goes up and there's a landing, and then it turns left and goes up to another landing, and then it turns right and goes up to the top of the stairs.
Huh.
And that corner creates a little space that's actually in that room. And they were using that little cutout corner for a massage space. They had a funky little curtain that went across there to kind of make it private. And told Chuck, well, if this is going to be a bedroom, we need to see if this can be a bathroom.
Mm,
And so he measured it, and there was enough room for a bathtub. So we made it a bathroom, and it was
nice.
supposed to be the fifth guest room. So when we started staying on the property, we stayed for a little bit in the little White House, because we were doing this upstairs space to make this bathroom, so it wasn't really workable. And then we did not like the bathtub in the little White House. It was an old pedestal tub with that kind of old-timey shower rig around it. And Chuck took 3 showers in there and said, this tub has got to go. And I was like, yes, because I really wanted to get rid of I didn't want to get rid of the tub. I just wanted to switch out the tub and redo the bathroom. And I was consoling myself that this property had operated with this goofy bathroom for 10 years. And the bathroom was always out there to be redone. So we don't have to do it now. We can do it in a year or whatever. And then after less than a month, Chuck was like, we got to do this bathroom. And I was like, yes. So we
Get it
did
done.
redo the bathroom. And so when that was going to happen, I said, I'm ready to move upstairs to like the quote unquote real bathroom. And so we moved up to the room that was the game room. And we've never left.
But both
So-
bathrooms are done.
So when Paul
Yep.
moved out
Mhm.
in August, that was going to be the innkeeper space and we were going to vacate. So that would put us back to 5 rooms. And then we did not hire an innkeeper. And Chuck said, you know, the original owner's bed and bath space is, I mean, it's crazy big. It's a huge space.
Mm.
It and the Allison room back up to each other. And it is probably 2/3 of that side of the downstairs. So it's a very nice sized bedroom and a gigantic bathroom with a his and hers sinks. Anne has a big soaking tub. Paul's side has a very pretty little vanity. There's a full walk-in shower, and we redid the shower. And Chuck said, I think we need to make this, if we're going to stay upstairs, let's make this the 5th guest room.
Cool.
And so both of the
Mhm.
spaces downstairs, we have 2 in the downstairs in the main house, the Allison suite. Allison was Anne's maiden name.
Okay.
That room, when Anne and Paul ran the property, was called Mama's room.
Mhm.
And nobody really liked that name. So we renamed it. And the bed that was in there had been Anne's mother's, and it went to her sister, and that allowed us to put a larger bed in there. So we put a king bed in.
Oh,
And
cool.
we renamed it the Allison Suite after Anne.
Nice.
And then when we did the other bedroom downstairs, which had been Anne and Paul's bedroom, we named that the Rutledge Retreat. Rutledge is Paul's middle name. So
Oh, okay.
both of the downstairs spaces are named after the original owners.
Very cool. Very cool. I love it. Well, I'm excited for our audience to come and visit you. So everyone needs to go to the website and we start planning trips to Texas. The birdandbutterflyinn.com is the website. It's beautiful there. They follow them on social media. It's always fun to see what Chuck's doing in the garden and all those renovations that you do. It's a lot of work goes in. And then, you know, all of a
Sure.
sudden you're having wine dinners. I'm like, oh, Chuck gets to have some wine. But he really wants that breakfast. We all
Chuck
know
really,
that.
he does get to, he does like the wine dinners because when we did the first one, I told him I was going to cook and we did hire someone to help, thank goodness. And since then we've just had a helper come in. We hired a professional caterer the first time and I assisted her. And then she
Okay.
wasn't available for the second one and I had a slight panic attack, but we have a little friend that works at the club.
This
and
is why you have wine.
but Chuck likes it because we do get to practice. Usually we practice everything because a lot of times I'm not making something that I've made before and we're cooking
Okay.
for 20 to 24 people.
No.
So, and I told Chuck, you need to, he says, well, why can't, I said, we need to hire a couple of waitresses. And he said, well, why can't I wait? And I said, well, have you ever waited at a table? And he said, no. And I said, well, that's the first reason. And the second reason is one of us has to be in this room to kind of evaluate what's going on and take notes so we can like debrief afterward. Cause I'm in the kitchen. I don't know what's going on.
You want to know what's going
I
on in
I
there.
volunteered for that.
So
Did
you're
you?
the fly on the wall with the wine and the dinner.
Uh-huh.
That's
Uh-huh.
Well, and he
Good.
also
Well done.
communicates with the kitchen if things are going slow, which they're usually not, but if things are going slow and they need a few minutes, or if we need a few minutes because something's taking a little long, he's kind of our go-between to like, hey, tell him to stall for 3 minutes because we need, you know, la la la. So, but he likes it because for the dessert, we're always making something that we've never made before, and he gets to try all the iterations of the dessert.
That's an
Uh-huh.
important duty. Yeah.
No complaints from
Right.
Chuck on that.
Well,
Right.
I love it because you have the sommelier that is also working with you too to get all the different wineries.
Yep.
I think it's really cool for people to have that experience and really people in a bed and breakfast, you know, Nancy and I we insat for Steve and Karen at the Lion and the Rose 3 times.
Oh,
And
fun.
did the
Okay.
breakfast, did everything that we had to do. They handled the bookings and all that stuff. We played in sitting and we first started it off as a joke and we did a Q&A. We did like a whole thing about, you know, have you ever, so many people dream of becoming an innkeeper, right?
Yes.
So
and
we're
then
like,
they do it
okay,
and they
well,
go, oh my gosh, what
my
was I
gosh,
thinking?
the laundry is nonstop. You know,
Oh,
the
never
dishes
stops.
is nonstop. You know, you're really right about that. The cleaning, but the people, and then when you see everyone communicate and breakfast, everybody gets served at the same time. And they have a Victorian bed and breakfast. And Nancy is doing the breakfast. And all I know is I had to keep closing the door because the dining room's right next to it. And I'm like, Nancy, you can't say this. You I'm closing the door on you. Because she was, because and talk, it is like a little panic attack to get it out on time. And then you're like, does anybody want more coffee? Get the conversation going slow. And you know what I found is most people are there to relax, they're chilled out, and they understand that this is, you're in someone's home, literally, and they're making you breakfast and they're doing the best they absolutely can to make sure you have a good breakfast and an enjoyable experience. And you really realize everyone's sitting and talking amongst themselves. If they have to wait 5 minutes, and no one freaks out.
And
Unless
most people
somebody
don't
has to
even
go
most
somewhere.
people don't even notice. They're just
Mm-mm.
they're having such a nice time
And they become
talking
friends. They
yes.
become friends, and they come from around the world. I mean, each time was an amazing experience of just learning, and I don't know, it was cool.
Talk about
Yeah.
when we had a couple that was here. We our very close friends were here last year for the 4th of July, and they're
Mhm.
coming back. They'll be here tomorrow. But we had another couple that had booked in the cabin. This was Charles. Remember Charles? And I can't remember, I'm gonna remember her name, but he drove the dump truck.
Oh, yeah.
So Chuck is having this very interesting, Chuck is having breakfast, which we normally don't have breakfast with the guests, but our friend Ted was here. And so I told Chuck, why don't you, and we're doing a real easy breakfast, so it's no problem. So Chuck was sitting at the table having breakfast with our friend Ted and our other guests, and they start having a conversation. And this guy's name is Charles.
Yeah, and so and Charles was just real open. He was appreciative of having breakfast with the other guests because he, in his occupation, doesn't get to meet a lot of people.
Well,
And
I want to interrupt you for 1 second. One of the things he told Chuck was, I wasn't really sure about this whole bed and breakfast thing about like sitting down to breakfast with a bunch of strangers, but then after they all talked, he said, now I get it.
Mm.
Yeah, and so he
Yeah.
had a great time getting to meet people he normally doesn't get to meet, and sitting at breakfast, and then all talking about their jobs and what they do and family and where they came from and how far it was and then what they enjoyed about being in East Texas. And he was really enjoying that socialization part
Mm.
of the breakfast.
And
So
he
That's
said,
nice.
in my this, I get it now why you do this and why everyone sits together. He said, in my normal life, I would never get to meet someone like you, Chuck, who owns a property like this. And Chuck says, oh, well, what do you do? And he says, what does he
What?
say?
he was a dump truck driver.
No
And
way. So yeah.
And like huge, like giant dump
yeah,
trucks.
yeah, well, all dump trucks are big, but he particularly drove a very, very large dump truck, and it was very specialized in the service that he did. And so he
Mhm.
was all excited about that. And he grabs his wallet and starts to haul out a picture. I'm thinking I'm going to get to see a picture of his grandkids or something. And in his wallet, he's got a picture of him in his truck. And this was just a massive, extremely commercial dump truck. And so it was exciting he was excited to show his truck and talk about the service that he does to provide in the oil and gas industry. So
But
it's
Well,
pretty neat.
that's huge. I mean, truckers, if we travel full time, and okay, we do have the occasions where I think I want to call someone and say, you need to get off the road.
oh yeah.
We have those moments, but on the whole, about 70 to 80% truckers have guided us through crazy driving nights. Just, I don't know, they've helped if you're in trouble. But I like to stop at rest areas and watch them park. And I've seen them even in hotels, like watch them park if they have
It's
truck
super
park.
impressive.
I'm like sitting there going, I can't parallel park. I'm an excellent driver because I really do get a lot of practice in it. But I'm like, how do you parallel parking? If I can't parallel park a RAV4, like how do you guys do this? So I'm always impressed by I could tell stories. I mean, I could do a whole show just on trucks and trucking. And I
Well,
did get to interview some truck drivers, but it's a fascinating career.
I thought that just encapsulated the whole B&B experience. I would never
That
get to
does.
meet someone like you who owns a beautiful property like this. Oh, what do you do? I drive a dump truck.
I know, but that's so cool. I mean, it's yeah, it's
Yeah,
all
it
walks
was
of
cool.
life come together. And and
Yep.
have like those sharing moments. And I think
Yep.
it's really great. And it makes people realize that we're actually all connected, even though the world at times seems like we're all disconnected. And
Yep.
so at breakfast, you're sharing bread, or creme brulee, excuse me,
Sure.
quiche. And so, I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing when people get together and it's not an experience you get at like a, typical kind of name brand kind of,
That's,
you know what I mean?
that was
Sure.
kind of on our website, there's a quote from Chuck about, it wasn't why do you want to buy a bed and breakfast? Because we did not intend to do
Mm.
this. However,
Ah, but
um,
serendipity is always good.
that's right. We did do a lot of praying about it, and
Mhm.
we were going to sell one piece of property. Chuck owned a small commercial building that had one tenant. It's a lighting store, and it's a lighting store he used to own. And after this guy was on him for months and months, like, I want to buy it, I want to buy it. We finally said, okay, we're going to sell the building. We find this place. We're not intending to buy a bed and breakfast, but that's what we're going to do. And then we call the owner of the store, and Chuck says, okay, when do you want to buy the building? And he says, I don't know, maybe 6 months or a year. Oh my gosh. Like, we're under contract and we're closing in 60 days.
Mm.
So Chuck hangs up. I freak out. I said, what are we going to do? And he said, well, we'll just sell the rent houses, because he owned 5 rent houses. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, okay. So we sat down and we prayed about it. And we said, God, if this is the right thing for us, then remove all the barriers. If it's not the right thing, close all the doors. So he calls his realtor. Within a week, all 5 properties are listed. And within 3 days, they were all under contract by one institutional buyer.
Wow.
And I was
You
like,
go, girl. You
I
get
guess
it.
we're doing this. It seems like God removed all the barriers. So
yeah.
this is what
And
we
you've
were
got
supposed
flowing
to
rivers.
do.
So there you go. You got a flowing
So
river.
that is how we became bed and breakfast owners.
Well, congratulations. I mean, it's 2 years, your
Mhm.
2-year anniversary, pretty much, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
Of owning,
yeah,
yeah.
just
Mhm.
so well done. The 2 years is always the hard mark, right? That's if you can get past 2 years, you can do 5 and 10, 20, how it goes. So yeah,
There you
that's
go.
There
awesome.
you go.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. We
Thank
know we're
you.
gonna have many
Thank you.
more conversations with you on our parties, our radio show parties. So we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Great.
Wine. I mean, the first time you came on was about baking for soldiers, and that was last year. Then the next one is wine dinners. The third one was ice cream. I mean, come on. It's about time we just did the bed and breakfast. All right. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Lisa. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Everyone, thebirdandbutterflyinn.com. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Travel and Leisure Show, brought to you by Big Blend Magazines. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com or blendradioandtv.com. Happy travels!